My plastic waste doesn't get recycled. Instead, it sits in a landfill. I know this because I hid a GPS tracker amongst my detritus. The UK government claims that 0% of our plastic waste goes to landfill. The borough of Tower Hamlets, where I live, says that all my waste is recycled. But as I've shown before, waste can often evade its prescribed end and go on to pollute areas that are out of sight and out of mind. So where does my rubbish really end up? To cut through the statistics and far afield sightings of waste, I wanted to use GPS tracking to follow my own rejectamenta. I purchased a discrete tracking device from SpyTracker. This device contained a SIM which could provide updates as often as every 10 minutes. I needed to hide the tracker so that it looked like any other plastic waste. The container needed to be made of a plastic type that my counter recycles, and what's more, needed to come in two sizes with the same top design so I could stack the two. I settled on Philadelphia spread packaging in 340 gram and 180 gram size. When I stacked the two together, there was enough space left over to hide the tracker. I gave the tracker some cushioning for its long journey ahead and sealed up the tub. To the unsuspecting eye, you can't tell there's anything hidden. I knew roughly what lay ahead for the plastic, and the trick was to make sure that it didn't get spotted before I could track its destination. Before waste goes to be recycled, it is brought to a waste transfer station. Here, the rubbish is sorted to pick out anything that cannot be recycled. The human workers are there to weed out stray plastic bags and other outlying material. Because the Philadelphia tub looked normal, and because its case wasn't magnetised, there was no reason for it to not be lumped in with all other plastic. Wherever this tracker ended up, it was where London was sending its recycling. I took my rubbish down the night before bin day, and waited anxiously. At 7:34 in the morning, my recycling was collected. From my flat, it travelled 4.5 kilometres to Bywater's recycling centre, crossing the borough border from Tower Hamlets into Newham. Curiously, the Amazon warehouse which originally processed my order is just next door. After being sorted, the tracker continued to move, ending here, at 51.5283 latitude and 0.3143 longitude. The site had no public name or business listed, which is unusual, but a cursory search found that it was Ockington landfill. The tracker hasn't moved since. This plastic hasn't been recycled, it's been buried. Tracking is a commonplace part of everyday life. By watching this very video, you've left a trail for ads to follow. Most technological devices come with trackers embedded, and the locations of our friends, family, and purchasers are readily available. This is part of a broader understanding of value, where what is valuable should be recorded, measured, and understood. Because rubbish is understood as something that lacks value, what interest would we have in knowing about it? Once something is in the bin, it's as good as disappeared. Any sense of guilt about our waste culture is soothed by the platitudes and empty statements given out by governments and corporations. This lulls us into a sense of guilt-free consumption and subsequent discarding of objects, while including any questions about how our objects are actually recycled and where our waste actually goes. But this is delusional. While recycling does take place in the UK, it must be taking place at levels far lower than is officially reported, and this means that while some objects are recycled, the majority seem to be thrown away or shipped overseas where they go on to pollute and harm other people's bodies. Worse still, GPS waste tracking is actually used commonly within the industry. Private and public organisations use GPS tracking to follow where their waste goes. This means that the information I found out during this video is probably already known by the government and by those who deal with our rubbish. And all the while we're still told vague information about where our waste ends up. We all think we're recycling, when our waste is actually being dumped. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing and check out my previous reporting. Thanks again.